The Key to the Indian by Reid Chapter 16, Perfidious Albion. When Little Bear strode with them up a steep hill and into a thick belt of trees, Omri felt almost hit in the face by the impact of the long-ago forest. It was very different from the ones around the hidden valley where he lived. There was a feeling you never got in England of wilderness. The trees were familiar. Many were the oaks and beeches and willows and ash trees he knew, but there were others so brilliantly colored that with the sun shafting through their leaves, Omri could scarcely look at them. It was like being roofed by jewel-colored glass. The air was glassy, too. It was so clear, and after the smoky, smells-laden air in the longhouse, it prickled in his lungs like frost crystals. There was also a subtle feeling that the forest was somehow alive, and that was scary. Of course, being small didn't help. But being close to Little Bear's strong, warm body did. Little Bear sat on a gigantic fallen tree, took them out of his belt, and set them one on each thigh. Omri found it was like straddling a whale. He glanced at the ground. It was a long way away. His fingers searched for something to cling to, finding only the smoothness of stretched buckskin, but Little Bear kept a guardian finger and thumb looped loosely around him. The Indian began to speak. In fact, he seemed to be making a speech. His voice boomed out far above them. When they gazed upward, they could see the jerks of his Adam's apple like the prow of a ship moving sharply with the waves. But his voice flowed over their heads and was drowned by the cries of birds, the whirring of a million insects, and the loud rustle of twigs, leaves, and branches in the forest canopy, which was sky-high above them. Omri's dad leant toward Omri across the gap. "Can you hear what he's saying?" "Not properly." "Tell him! You!" Omri's dad put his head back and shouted. Little Bear took no notice. Omri had an idea and thumped with both fists against the huge thumb that encircled his waist. Little Bear, startled, looked down, then bent toward them. The sudden appearance of his enormous face close above them made them cower. "What?" he said. It came out as a roar that lifted the hair on their heads. "We can't hear you, Little Bear. Come down to us." The next moment they were lifted to dizzy heights, then the ground, covered with a glorious pattern of bright five-pointed leaves as big as hearthrugs, rushed toward them as Little Bear stretched himself at full length on the forest floor. He put them down, and they sat on the colored leaves. It was like sitting on an endless leathery carpet of reds, oranges, yellows, browns, and greens. The crisp air chilled their bare chests, and they hugged themselves. "I wait," said Little Bear clearly.